Here there is a problem, because what the IASB, the International Accounting Standards Board, have done publicly is quite different to what they have done privately. In public, the then head of the International Accounting Standards Board, David Tweedy, said, "No entity is ever allowed to disclose assets valued at more than their recoverable amount in its financial statements." That basically means that when you are producing an annual report, you cannot overstate the value of those assets. However, a second person on the IASB committee, somebody called Sue Lloyd, said something quite the opposite. She didn't state this as publicly as David Tweedy, but she did say that under IAS 39, potential credit losses remain hidden until signs of deterioration are evident. So you have one person in the committee saying, reassuring investors that banks may never hide losses. And you have a second person on the committee, on the same committee, saying that banks are, it's possible to delay the recognition of losses under the same accounting standard. Now that is a huge error, and it's probably a good example of complete failure of the International Accounting Standards Board. If it says something in public to reassure investors and then privately tells people who are preparing accounts that they can do something different, it is a major problem. Various inquiries have taken place over the last couple of years to try and unearth this scandal. The International Accounting Standards Board was subjected to severe criticism from two House of Lords committees where they examined what caused the banking crisis. In essence, the IASB were accused of dropping prudence. This is the company law requirement that banks disclose all their losses so that they can reveal their financial position correctly. In Ireland, about 3 years ago, we had a banking inquiry, and the issue of IAS 39 and the International Financial Reporting Standards came up on numerous occasions. One important piece of evidence from that inquiry was given by the former Central Bank Governor Patrick Honohan. He repeatedly criticised the International Accounting Standards Board for developing accounting standards that allowed banks to overstate the value of their assets and delay the recognition of losses. And he went further. He claimed he had a legal opinion confirming that the Irish Central Bank could not challenge those banks who hid their losses by under-providing for assets. We have asked for details of this legal opinion, but the Irish Central Bank have said that they will not give it. And it's very difficult to believe that somebody would write a legal opinion confirming that banks are allowed to hide losses. There was a debate in the UK following the financial crisis where legal experts examined whether the accounting standards complied with company law if they allowed banks to hide losses. It started with a legal opinion from a guy called Martin Moore QC, who claimed that the International Financial Reporting Standards comply with company law, they comply with the IAS regulation. However, he didn't make clear in his legal opinion whether the International Financial Reporting Standards allowed banks to hide losses. As I said, there are two different versions of the IASB given by the IASB themselves. Under one version by David Tweedy, banks must reveal all losses. If that version is correct, it follows that the International Accounting Standards generally comply with company law. However, a second definition by the same committee, by another committee member, Sue Lloyd, claimed that banks were allowed to delay the recognition of losses. Now, if that's the case, there is a huge question as to whether Martin Moore was correct in stating that that following the International Financial Reporting Standards automatically comply with company law. When Martin Moore issued his opinion, a second opinion was issued by George Bompas QC, and he drew the conclusion that banks which dropped the concept of prudence and delayed the recognition of losses were not in compliance with company law. And he even suggested that banks who do delay the recognition of losses may be acting in a criminal manner. In Ireland, the Institute of Chartered Accountants have argued that you can hide losses under the accounting standards and that it is legal. It issued a report stating, CARB, that's the Chartered Accountants Regulatory Board, believe it unfortunate that compliance with an accounting standard is deemed of itself to result in a true and fair view of a company's financial position. Accordingly, CARB believes that in the future, the first principle that should apply is true and fair, followed then by adherence to the individual standards. Now, George Bumpus would believe that that statement is incorrect, because if you are giving a true and fair view of the bank's financial position, you must reveal all losses. So there is a potential cover-up which needs to be examined. So we have a very serious issue. It's not going to be resolved in the short term. We have been told that a new accounting standard called IFRS 9 will resolve the matter, but if you look at the standard, there are still opportunities to hide losses under the revised rules, and if those rules do exist, then banks will continue to hide losses.